call to order the regular meeting of the West Valley City Council. We note that we have in attendance all members of the council with the exception of Council Member Lars Nordfeldt, who is excused tonight. For the start of our meeting tonight, we have two Cub Scout packs here to do a flag ceremony. And so they come from the area of about 4800 West, they said, and 35th South. And since there's a couple of them, we won't introduce them now individually, but we're glad to have them here. And so we'd invite them to come forward. There's a young man all ready to take care of this.
Color guard attention. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Will the audience please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard, please post the color guard salute. Color guard forward march. Color guard dismiss. Audience CBC.
Now, since there were two of them, we would invite one from each pack to come up and just introduce themselves, pack number, and maybe the schools they attend so we get an idea. Okay? Right up here to the microphone. Just one for each of you. So two different ones. Your pack number and what schools you attend.
3344. And you're 3844.
And if you forget, just look at your arm. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Connor Harrison, and I'm from the pack 3844. And Xavier Meekum, he's also from 3844. I go to Calvin Smith, he goes to Jacqueline Elementary.
My name is Isaac Orkentine, and I'm pack 3344, and I go to Ensign Elementary, and Samuel Harrison Hilburn goes to summer school because he's going to Challenger next year. And Gabriel Ortiz.
Thank you very much for coming, and we appreciate you doing the flag ceremony tonight. We're glad to have you participate. You're welcome to stay as long as you like or leave at any point you feel comfortable. Because people come and go all the time. With that then, any other, okay, here's another one over here. And you have a designated patrol leader, whoever. If you wouldn't mind coming up here to the microphone.
We are Troop 488 from West Valley Middle School. Oh, Westlake Middle School.
All right, what are you working on tonight?
The community citizenship in the community. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Glad to have you here tonight. I think that's all the introductions. Okay. Then with that, we go to the minutes of July 11th to the council for a motion.
Mayor, move for approval of the July 11th minutes.
Second?
Very good. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes unanimously. The minutes are approved. Next, we have our comment period. And if there are those here to speak, we mentioned that a person can take up to 5 minutes. We have several who are listed here. You can take less if you'd like, doesn't matter. It is not a debate time. The time is yours to use as you see fit for any topic you want to bring to the council. The council may or may not respond later with comments. And so, not a question and answer or debate time. So, with that then, let's start with Julie Erickson.
Julie Erickson from Chesterfield. We just had our 4th neighborhood reunion, like the neighborhood, or the watch, or the, what do they do, the night out? But it's our neighborhood reunion, and I just want to tell the chief of fire thanks for sending out a crew to recognize the neighborhood and to mingle with the neighborhood. And it's not the neighborhood of Chesterfield that is there now, per se, it's when we were all younger. So this was a lot of different age groups, and it was our 4th year. So I just wanted to recognize the chief of fire for sending out a crew. Thanks.
Thank you. Next we have Mark Madman or something. I'm sorry. I can't read writing very well. And so introduce yourself correctly.
Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor and esteemed council members, my name is Mark Mamau, and I'm a journeyman lineman and business representative at Local 57. I represent many of the men and women who work tirelessly in the electrical line industry for Rocky Mountain Power and various contractors like Sturgeon, Wasatch, and Cache Valley Electric, just to name a few. Simply put, we build power lines and light rails, generate, transmit, and distribute the electricity to the masses. So when you go to flip on that light switch, we are the ones that provide that service for you. Many of our workers live here in West Valley. Recently, I have seen campaigning signs being nailed to utility poles in my neighborhood, notably along 6400 West and 3500 South. As a lineman who had put in many hours in the field, I know this is a direct violation of power company policies and public safety regulations. Of particular interest to me, it also puts our linemen of Local 57 who work in West Valley at risk by becoming one more obstacle that can delay life-saving measures in case of an accident. Our West Valley City sign ordinance also states that no one can post signs on utility poles without the express permission of the utilities. I also volunteer to help my friend Jake Fitzimani with his campaign, and since the other District 4 candidates had signs on their power poles, we assumed they had requested and received permission to do so. In order to play by the rules, we called Rocky Mountain Power and CenturyLink Communications, and we're surprised to learn that not only do the other candidates not have permission to post their signs, but actually the utility companies will not grant any exceptions for any West Valley City candidates. We did not name any names nor give any locations during these conversations, but in light of this information, the utility companies notified us that their crews will be enforcing the ordinances by removing any signs on the utility poles that they happen to come across before the non-compliant candidates decide to take them down themselves. Believe me, I know the volunteers can be zealous and may not be fully informed of the rules, but it doesn't seem right that seasoned candidates who have run campaigns before would be in violation of the city ordinance. I'm simply here to encourage all the candidates in our city to live up to fair campaign practices by respecting each other's ordinances and regulations. And I wish all the candidates best of luck in their campaigns. And I want to thank all of you for your time and dedicated service to our great city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next we have Bruce Hastings.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, excuse me. I'm Bruce Hastings, and I believe you have in front of you the things that I'm going to present tonight and can follow along with me. It's not that I don't think you can read, but it's a little easier if you have something left over when I leave. So I am and have just recently been given the opportunity to be a pickleball ambassador for West Valley City. So that means that I'm the local representative for the USAPA organization, which is the national organization. Pickleball, and my reason for being here tonight is to transfer or give to you the information that I've got so that you have information to make decisions about using. And it's basically an abstract of information that I presented to Nancy Day just this afternoon. Pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America. You can see the statistics there. 5 years ago, there were 8 USAPA ambassadors, mostly in St. George, 2 in northern Utah. Today, there are over 40, and I'm one of the newest. 3 years ago, there were 107 USAPA ambassadors in the USA. Today, there are 1,437. The court availability in our area, meaning West Valley City and Kearns primarily, because that's my areas of responsibility, lags significantly behind southern and northern Utah. West Valley City has 7 courts. We're grateful for the 4 that we have at the West Valley Family Fitness Center. There are 2 outdoor courts that were put in by the county at Lodestone Park, and there's 1 dual tennis and pickleball court at Hillsdale. It's also a county court. Kearns has 6 indoor courts. They were just recently painted. Pickleball tournaments tend to fill quickly, sometimes within minutes. If you wanted to get a pickleball tournament position in the Huntsman Senior Games, you'd probably have about 20 minutes when the tournament opens to do that. Waiting lists for tournaments are common. Huntsman, probably in the neighborhood of 200. Farmington City recently decided that, Kaysville now has just opened 8 new courts. Governor was there and did the ribbon cutting. Bluffdale has just opened 16 courts that are lighted. Riverton has 4. They've been in place for a year or so. They're lighted. Woods Cross has 6. They're lighted. And Kearns has the 6 indoor courts. All these communities have recently invested in courts for their communities. Both Riverton and Kaysville have leagues for their areas, and we have players from our area that go to Kaysville and go to Riverton in order to play in a league. Farmington City recently decided they're going to build the best pickleball complex in the state of Utah. The first 8 courts are under construction now. They've just broken ground for those. They figure about 60 to 90 days before they're completed, with another 8 courts planned. So it'll be a fairly large complex. This Tuesday, Salt Lake City will add another 6 courts to their inventory. And there is a proposal that's before Bountiful City to build a 16-court complex at Twin Hollow Park, and that'll be a complex where they can do tournaments. They've got a championship court there. Just as an item of information, there was a policy announcement on August the 8th of last year by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that state presidents are now given authority to approve painted pickleball lines in their gym floors. So this kind of gives you an idea of how the sport's going, where it's going, how it's growing. But there's also an economic issue. So page 2, that's what we're talking about there. Pickleball courts cost approximately $25,000 to $30,000 per court for quality construction, and I assume that's for multiple courts. A single court would probably be higher. So what are the economic benefits then? According to the Utah Department of Tourism, pickleball players, since many are seniors, spend $175 a day when visiting and playing in a tournament, paying mostly for hotels, restaurants, cars, and shopping. For visitor categories, this is one of the highest spending demographic groups. I'm assuming that they're meaning, I've taken this information from the Pickleball Association, so I'm not entirely sure, but I'm assuming they're meaning the seniors. Currently, if we had 500 players staying in for a 4-day tournament, that would result in a $350,000 financial impact to the tournament, from the tournament to the city. If they held 6 tournaments in a year, that would be 2.1 million that the city would benefit from. So going forward, I'll continue to work with Nancy and probably come back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Timed that almost exactly right. Next, we have Al Lockhart.
Thank you for saying my name right. It's unusual. Gentlemen, lady, I want to address the problem on my street, my neighborhood, of on-street parking. Now, I live on Bedford Road, which is the road across the street from American Express, where the light is. Since American Express was built years ago, and I've lived there for 40 years, that street has been nothing but a funnel for all of the neighborhoods around there to get to 27th South, or West. Recently, we've had numerous families move in there that are parking 6 and 7 cars on the street in front of their houses. It's becoming a hazard when they park on both sides of the street because the street is narrower. It necks down a block in from 27th. So it's becoming a hazard. It's hard to back out. It's a one-way lane when they park on both sides of the street, which is most of the time. So I'm here just to find out if there is something that we can do with on-street parking. I know there's a regulation when there's snow that you can't park on the road, but I think Bedford is a special circumstance because it is heavily trafficked, more so than as a residential street should be. And I've noticed this for the last 30 years since they built American Express, since they put the light in. It's not an ideal situation for us to have the traffic, but now with the parking, it's a problem. So if there's something that can be done, maybe just for that street, I don't know. Neighborhood-wide, city-wide, I don't know. But it is a problem and it needs to be addressed, and I will try to get some information from my council member if you decide to do anything about it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Robert Bird.
Well, it's good to be able to be here and to actually see my mayor and the councilman and to get to know you. But I'm here with Al, and it is a very serious problem there. One of the things is every Monday when I go to take my trash cans out, I have to go beg people to move cars so I can put my trash cans out. That's not a very good situation. I have a 4-place snowmobile treasure that every time I pull it in, I gotta go ask people to move so I can take it, put it in. Every time I leave, I have to ask people to move so I can pull it out. One lane, that's all it is, because at the first, right up there by the light, it's quite a bit wider. But then as you come down, it narrows down, and traffic congestion is quite. And then you see some cars stop, and then another guy stops, and one wants to go first, the other wants to go first, and you're worried about kids darting out. It's a situation that I don't think should really be something we should have to worry about. And I think some of it has to do with single-family dwelling. We moved in there. I put parking. My kids have, had cars when they were growing up. Of course, they've all moved away. But when we have situations where they come back, they're still off of the road. Now, if I can do that, why can't somebody else? I know everybody's, have a lot of money and stuff and so forth, but it don't cost quite that much to put gravel down and park off the road. You really don't. And it is a situation. And then a lot of times, like Al mentioned, the snow. When it snows, there's still a lot of cars out there, and they go around them the best they can. And I actually feel sorry for them, because it's not an easy task to run one of those snow machines, snow plows. We're just asking for some help to get our neighborhood back like it was, a single family dwelling without. And when he said 7 cars, I have counted up to 13 extra cars just in that one group right there. Outside on the road, on both sides of the roads, and it's not easy to get by. So we just appreciate some concern, something to look into this and see if there's something that we can get done so that this situation can be resolved. And a lot of us are talking about moving. Well, the reason is because we can't function like you should. But yet, like tonight, I went over here to Del Taco to get some tacos for my wife, and when I come back, there's a beautiful neighborhood there, and it's older than ours, I think. No cars out on the road. It looks nice. Why is it there and not here? Maybe you can help us with that. I'd really appreciate your help. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Candace Perusi.
Hi, I'm Candace Perucci with Congressman Stewart's office. I'm his Director of Community Relations, and I'm coming by to just share some information about his service drive we're doing right now. It's a back-to-school supplies drive for refugees in the community, and we're collecting notepads, calculators, backpacks, everything you'd need, and we're doing it until August 11th, and then we'll be delivering them. And we're working with Catholic Community Services, the Department of Labor, and the refugee groups within the Salt Lake County area. Also wanted to just report back on last year's refugee drive. We raised over 500 backpacks full of supplies for students. We also did a Valentine's for Veterans drive, and we did cards as well, Christmas cards for soldiers, and are hoping to do packages this year for deployed troops. So really trying to engage in the community through service. In addition, if you have constituents who are having an issue with federal agencies, which happens quite a bit, with the IRS, Social Security not getting a check to them, I wanted to leave my card so that you could refer them to our office. I specifically work with veterans and the VA, but also military affairs. And for example, World War II veterans, a lot of them didn't receive their awards, so I'll pull their service records and get their awards for them. So we do lots of casework. Immigration has also been one that we do a lot of work on, and working with USCIS. So wanted to make sure you were aware that we do a lot of casework in our office and are here to be a resource for you and your constituents. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who plans to make public comments? Seeing no more, I will close that, and we'll now come back here to our city manager.
No comments tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
To the council. Any comments? Although some of these we might follow, or I might follow up with afterwards and have some interest in. So rather than take the time here, I'll just meet with those individuals afterwards. Continuing on for our agenda, seeing no further comments from the council, we'll go to our resolutions. We have resolution 17-121. This is to authorize an agreement between West Valley City and UDOT for new sidewalk construction. This is in conjunction with 5600 West, some federal funds. We participate in it as well, and that will extend the sidewalk there on 5600 West in some areas where it's currently not at. And so this proposal is to enter into that agreement with that to get it done. With that introduction, to the council.
Mayor, I move for approval of resolution 17-121.
Second.
Properly before us, any further discussion? For those scouts who are here, this is the second time we've addressed these. We studied them the week prior, and so we've already asked questions, dealt with this. So if it seems we go through them fast, we do. because we've already got our questions answered. But this is the official place where we actually take our vote for everyone to see. With that then, to our city recorder, who will take the roll call vote as required by state law.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we go to Resolution 17-122. This is a change order on a contract that we have with Morgan Industries. They're reconstructing the parking lot at City Park. Discovered some problems underneath once they started to do that, which would, if not taken care of, would mean that it would probably sink later on and we'd waste our money. So rather than redo it at a much higher cost later, we're going to approve a change order. And I don't have that number. Do you have it right in front of you there? 43,000. 49? 48. Okay. It's around 48,000. It's hard for me to say as an accountant, but it's around it. And so this is very appropriate for us to do because we want that work to last, because it needs to. Right now, that parking lot was in very bad shape. So with this, we'll move forward. With that introduction to the council.
Mayor, move for approval of Resolution 17-122.
Second.
Properly before us, any further discussion? Seeing none, to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next on our consent agenda, these are even easier ones. We have two resolutions, 17-123. It's a right-of-way contract with Wagstaff Investments, warranty deed for property. This is in conjunction with the work going on at the intersection of 4100 South and 3200 West. You'll see some of those changes taking place, and so we need to adjust minor things there to make sure we have the right to do what we need to do and to take certain pieces of property. These are usually very small, but they allow us to put in turn lanes and etc. And then Resolution 17-124, same thing, but with Wade Abbott, warranty deed and temporary construction easement, so that we can step on his property while we're doing these things. Then we'll put it back like it should be. With that, introduction to our consent agenda to the council.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Properly before us, any further discussion? Seeing none, to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, with that, we do not have a need for an executive session. That concludes the work for our regular city council meeting. You'll note that we will go directly to another meeting immediately following this one. And so for this meeting, final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Our regular city council meeting is adjourned.
We call the meeting of Westwood City Redevelopment Agency tonight, and roll call, we have a quorum here tonight except Councilman Norfeld. The item number 3 in here, this agenda, we have the resolution 17-09, and I will turn it over to City Manager Wayne Pyle.
Thank you, sir. We have an item before you this evening to discuss the involvement of the RDA with expansion of a Frito-Lay manufacturing line at their plant up there in the West Ridge redevelopment area. So as you know, from time to time, we cooperate with, we certainly work with all of our business communities from a recruitment and a retention basis. Retention is particularly important to us. Frito-Lay has been here at the city since 1995. They were one of the early participants in the RDA, and they've been a great corporate partner, and they are looking to expand their development. So in order to bring us a new line which will produce Cheetos an item that we don't currently produce up there. This will be a $35 million capital investment for that manufacturing line and will bring 25 full-time jobs. As our economic development department worked with them, they are proposing that we use part of the tax increment that will be generated over the next 3 years to help support that project. This would be years 2018 through 2021. And based on a post-performance basis, and in other words, as they install the manufacturing line, as they put in the improvements, we would participate with up to 50% of a portion of the tax increment that will be generated over those 3 years. That incentive ultimately could be worth as much as $500,000, but would not exceed that. There would be a cap as opposed to a particular amount. All the tax increment that would be generated by the same improvements after the year 2021 would accrue back to the redevelopment agency. From a return on investment basis, which we do with all of our projects as we bring them to you for consideration, this is a good one. We appreciate as I mentioned before, the citizenship and the corporate partner that Frito-Lay has been. They certainly are bringing new capital expansion to the city in this case and jobs, and therefore we recommend participation and approval of this project.
Thank you, Mr. Papaya, City Manager. I will turn this over to our council for discussion, action, or motion.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of Resolution 17-09.
Second.
So I have a motion, have a second. Is any further question for this motion? So none, and I will turn it over to City Recorder Nicole Carmen.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Aye.
Mr. Bigelow? Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
And Chairman Hughes.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, if we may.
Okay, I didn't really steal the thunder of the RDA staff, but I knew at some point they would like to fit the
Board Member Bueller
presentation in here.
Yes, Board Member Bueller asked at the study session if there would be free samples, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
It looked like it was a bribe. We got one extra. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Here we have another resolution 17-10, and I will turn it over to City Manager Wayne Pyle.
Thank you, sir. So another funding source or purpose of redevelopment agencies is to support various housing opportunities. And over the years, we generate a number of dollars into that account, and we have before you tonight a project that we think will be worthwhile expenditure and use of those funds. We have had through an entity called Opportunity Scholars Program and the University of Utah a proposed partnership program between those two entities and ourselves as an RDA to support a pilot program that would provide housing and mentorship services to higher education students within the university system. This wouldn't be solely in the long term associated with the University of Utah. Our hope is that all of the higher education system would be open and available for this kind of a project. But in short, basically what we're testing out here on a pilot basis is a concept which would provide student housing within the city boundaries for a number of purposes. Make it easier and more likely that those students would graduate from college, that they would also remain as residents in West Valley and continue to contribute as citizens to our community, and at the same time also fulfill a goal which we certainly have as a city and as an RDA, but often find it we find it difficult to have a direct impact on education as a very needed and important aspect of our community. So this proposal would propose that we use $150,000 of that housing fund to support this pilot program. Eventually, if the pilot program as measured works out, we could have a much larger actual permanent housing program that includes university services in terms of mentorship, living, all the sorts of things that normally goes with what you would normally associate with on-campus housing or else private housing that students hitherto have just been responsible for going out and securing themselves. So that's a proposal before us. We recommend it. As the board is well aware, we had a presentation with some of the involved partners here last week, and we'd like to move forward with it.
Thank you. And I will turn it over to the council.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to say that, I'll reiterate what Mr. Powell said. We hardly ever have opportunities to support education. When we do, it's always, I think, an exciting thing for us to do that. And in this case, this is supported with funds that have very limited opportunities to spend. It's not that we are taking money from another department or anything like that. This money is earmarked and limited to housing, and this fits with that, those limitations. And so with that said, I would move for approval of Resolution 17-10.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion, have a second. Any question? None, so we'll turn it over to Nicole Kaiman, the CD recorder.
Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Bigelow?
Aye.
Mr. Bueller?
Aye.
Ms. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
And Chairman Hughes.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And we have one last motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you. So all in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
So we adjourn.